That's right, folks. It's week 11, and it's another Sunday live start-sit show. 2 hours of start-sit questions, key injuries, and weather updates. Everything you're going to need to know up until kickoff, starting right now on the Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel. And once again, folks, it's another episode of the Razzball Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your temporary host before I kick it over to Matthew Stiles. We also have Dave Cruz and Derek Favert all on the show today to help you. A quad box. We figured out a way, whether Sky's here or not. In spirit, it's a 5-person box. But today we have 4 people in person. I'm going to be throwing it up to Matthew Stiles, who's going to be handling the hosting duty, say fresh off the boat, literally. That used to be like a weird say. That's like a other saying, but for today, it actually meant something different for us. Matt, what's going on, man?
Good to be back. It's 2 weeks of missing the show. It feels like there's a little bit of a hole in my life, but here we are. It's good to see you gents live and in living color. I will say a couple of things we will not discuss today. We will not discuss the formerly 18th ranked Washington State Cougars, who couged it last night against New Mexico. And we will not be discussing Razzball unless I am asked to take a break. Notice I don't have that shirt on today. I did not make the cut in my own tournament. So if you guys want to get the Razzball razzing out of the way, I will give you 30 seconds each. Dave, go.
Okay.
We'll move on from that. Now we're not going to talk about Razzball.
I'll speak real quickly about it just to push the envelope. I didn't make the cut either. I pretty much drafted every injured player I could. Nice. So I did go ahead and set a lineup, though. So
yeah, I did the
for
same.
The spirit.
I set a lineup. It made me feel better.
Just for the practice. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for Razzball 7.
Yeah, everything worked in my favor starting at the draft last year, and nothing worked in my favor this year. So same strategy. I will employ it again next season, but it just did not. It did not fall into place like it did last year. Derek, I believe that you knocked out an industry bigwig to make it through the cut line. Is that correct?
So I did make the cut barely. Yep, I knocked out Jeff Erickson last week to take over the 6th spot. So I'm in the consolation bracket for probably a very short time, but I'm wearing the t-shirt, and I left the light on for you.
Nice. Setting those lineups, man. Yeah, I'm like 40th overall right now. Doing all right. Actually, this is the first year that I've actually really paid attention, I'll have to admit, because I actually have quarterbacks and I actually have tight ends. I actually have players that can play each week. Like this time a few years ago, I was like, I didn't have a quarterback. It's nothing. So it's like trying to make sure you stay on top of it. This year I actually did use my fab, and I'm in the hunt. I'm like number 2, I think, overall in my league, but I'm 42nd overall in the entire tournament. So I'll hopefully represent the team this year. Let's do it.
I'm going to sum up my Razzball injury and the fact that I probably zigged when I should have zagged. I drafted Tyrone Tracy Jr.
Woo!
And dropped him when Carson Steele became a thing. 3 of my 10 fab dollars because Tracy had not seen the field. That pretty much sums up my Razzball season right there. Not to mention Trevor Lawrence as my backup quarterback, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, all right, enough about that. We will get to everybody's questions. We signed in today and saw we had about 5 or 6 questions. So, without further ado, gents, unless you have something you want to say to your adoring fans that are out there before we get going, we're going to jump right into Hiram Gatto's question. Anybody? Raise your hand. 3, 2, 1. Nope. All right.
Let's
So
get
the first question of the day, Hiram, thanks for chiming in early. Hiram needs a running back and a flex, PPR, Rico Dowdle, Tony Pollard, Jalen Warren, Keenan Allen. I assume that's not Ben Watson, as Sky would say. That's Christian Watson, Rashad Bateman. Dave, what do you think? 1 running back, 1 flex.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go with Dowdle over Pollard and Warren as the running back. Pollard jumps out to me, but he left last week after like half the game. He missed the first practice this week. He did manage to get a full practice in Friday. So I could still go Pollard, but I'm probably going to go Dowdle over Pollard. Warren's got the Ravens. I'm not real crazy about that matchup. As the flex, it pretty much comes down to Keenan Allen and Bateman for me. And as much as I hate to say it, I think I'm probably going to go Bateman over Keenan Allen versus the Packers. And I really don't like the Watson matchup versus the Bears.
Yeah, so unlike Dave, I am not as worried about Pollard this week. Like you said, he did have the full practice at the end of the week. So I'm going to roll with Pollard here. Warren is fine, and he's getting some extra work, but he's still behind Najee, and Dallas is just a mess. In Dowdle, I mean, we didn't have confidence in Dowdle when they had a quarterback, an elite quarterback. So I just don't see a scenario where Houston doesn't pile on to stop both the run and put pressure on the quarterback there. So Dowdle just is not going to be a play for me this week. So I'll go Pollard as the running back. And but I do agree with Dave on Bateman too. I'm going to go with Bateman in those for the PPR flex. I'll go with Bateman.
Yeah, I'm going to go Dowdle and Pollard. My mindset here is that Dowdle will get all the work. And listen, the Cooper Rush experience was bad last week. I get that. But a few years ago, it wasn't. And I don't know. I think that there might just be some learning curve to get him back up to speed. And I think that he's going to be in the full-time workhorse. So I'm going to go to Dowdle. Pollard, to me, just seems like the lock. I'm not going to fade him. The reason why is Warren is hurt and the RB2 in that offense. Keenan Allen, Watson, and Bateman, like all those guys, like right now, is just a huge – Keenan Allen has not produced at all really this entire season at any facet. Like he has not been good. Watson, same thing. Bateman, I don't know what Deontay's going to be. Like, this is the week where Deontay gets the work, and then all of a sudden the two receiver set is Deontay Johnson and Zay Flowers. So I'm a little concerned there. So that's why I'm going to go Dowdle and Pollard.
This actually upsets my stomach a little bit. I had an early breakfast, but I'm going to agree with Bob right out of the gate.
Love it. Little seasick, you know what I mean? Like you're getting a little bit. All right. Well, I like it.
I'm just going to agree with you. It doesn't mean I like you any more than I did when I signed on this morning.
Cool.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Well, that's fair.
Yeah, I'm Dowdle is volume. Pollard is volume. Pollard with full practice to end the week. Warren dinged. The Bears are an absolute mess. This was not Shane Waldron's fault. Shane Waldron is the scapegoat. I will be shocked if Eberflus makes it through the season as the head coach, but he probably will because the Bears front office is an absolute mess. Now their passing game coordinator is the OC. Again, it wasn't his fault either. But you're right, Bob. Keenan Allen just has not done what we expect Keenan Allen to do. It's not Keenan Allen's fault. It's not the running game's fault. It's Caleb Williams' fault and whatever offense that Eberflus is suggesting that Shane Waldron run. On top of that, it's Bears week for the Packers. Coming off a bye, the Bears don't stand a chance today. I would smash Green Bay -5.5 anywhere that you place your bets. And I would probably bet parlay that with anytime touchdown for Josh Jacobs and over, call it 75 rushing yards for Josh Jacobs. Along with that, you don't really throw a ton outside against the Bears. That's their one bright spot. So Christian Watson he needs one play to be PPR gold, but we haven't seen enough consistency from him. So I think the plays today are Jaden Reed for Green Bay, and I also think that Romeo Doubs is going to probably have, from an outside perspective, the better game of the Green Bay outside receivers. Bateman, again, I'm with Bob on this too. When is Deontay Johnson going to play? More snaps than Rashad Bateman. I think they signed or traded for him for the playoffs. He's a player that can be positive for them. So I don't feel it for the three wide receivers. Warren is dinged. So again, I'm with you, Dowdle and Pollard for volume. And I don't think Minnesota's great against the run, so I think Pollard is in a better position.
So the good news is for Hiram, we cut it down to 3, Dowdle, Pollard, and Bateman, with Dowdle and Pollard being the consensus.
Yeah, if he's still tuned in, which I hope he is. Jeff Marks, good morning to you as well. Pick one, full PPR. Khalil Shakir, Brian Thomas Jr., who is a show favorite, or Calvin Ridley. Three good options here, Dave. What do you think?
I like all of them, probably in the order of Calvin Ridley, Shakir, and Brian Thomas this week. So I'm going to take Ridley here. He's just been getting peppered with targets the last few weeks. There's no reason for them to stop doing that. They're going to be playing. They got the Vikings today, and I think they're probably going to have to throw the ball a lot. So I'll take Ridley out of these three.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be Shakir. The matchup with the Chiefs in Buffalo, this is always a smash spot for the Bills in the regular season anyway. And the matchup for the wide receivers versus the Kansas City defense does favor Shakir. So let me go with Shakir. And I'm kind of thinking the Bills are going to blow out the Chiefs today. So if that comes to pass, Shakir is going to be highly involved. So give me Shakir.
It's Ridley for me. Last week, Will Levis is all I need to see on the road against the Chargers, and the Vikings are a great matchup, not only for outside receivers, but also in the deep passing game. They're they allow one of the most air yards in football per game, and that's where Calvin Ridley beats you. So I'm going to go Calvin Ridley.
Well, folks that are just tuning in, we are now 2 for 2. Matt agreeing with Bob.
Yes.
So the show is turning out to be an absolute mess.
I wasn't expecting this level of security. I feel so confident right now. This
It's still early,
great.
Bob. It's still early.
Yeah, it's still really, really, really early. So there'll be some vile comments, right? There'll be some piss and vinegar coming out of me soon.
All right.
I feel it.
All right.
I'm starting to rev and ramp up and feel like I'm back in the show. And maybe I kind of thought, oh, well, that's Sky, in the box below me. No, it's Bob. So I don't know. Sooner or later, it will turn into a negative Nancy for me. But yeah, Ridley with Levis, I prefer. I want it to be Brian Thomas Jr. based on the amount of shares that I have. But this is not Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. This is Mac Jones, who looked absolutely horrendous for Brian Thomas Jr. I think if you have less options than Shakir or Ridley, that Brian Thomas is penciled into your lineup, and you're going to have to deal with the results. But for me, it's going to be Ridley, Shakir, and Thomas in that order. I'm with Derek as well. I think that Buffalo is they're going to prove a point today, and Kansas City's being the worst 9-0 team I've ever seen. I think that this starts somewhat of a slide for them.
All right, Jeff, if you want to go the consensus, go with Ridley. If you want to be right, go with Shakir.
Talk about confidence.
Wow.
I like that. So is this new, Bob? Is this a new plan that we've come through where somebody has to actually drive the consensus?
Well, I think the problem was a couple weeks ago we had 5 people on, and by the time we got through it all, I'm like, I don't even know who picked what. And if I'm a listener, I'm like, I'm not even sure exactly what the consensus, unless you're writing it down. So I just said, Derek, you seem like a guy who can really reel in the troops here, and it worked out great. Yeah. He's a great tracker. Tracker. So yeah, now that it's easier for the follower to know what the consensus was outside of just the individual person. So I like it.
Well, I'll look in my email for that memo because clearly
I think it didn't quite make it to you across the water. So
no, we had to cut you out.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll look in spam as well under Bob's spam folder.
Look under ad hoc.
Yeah. All right. Our old friend, actually new friend this year, I think, and old friend throughout the show every week this year. Epic fail. Need a running back 2 in multiple leagues. Rank these guys. I assume what we're going to do is we're just going to rattle off an order. And if epic fail, if you need some type of analysis or something deeper, we can give you that later. Just give us another comment. So for now, Dave, just put these running backs in order for week 11.
Yeah, for me, that's pretty tough. That's a pretty tough group for a running back too. I would go Edwards, Algier, Ford, Ray Davis, McLaughlin, and Mason. Mason may get a few more carries this week, but he only had 1 carry last week. Don't know what's going on in Denver. Maybe it's the Estime show. Maybe it's not. We'll find out more today. But I'm I like Edwards and Algier the best out of this group.
Yeah, so for me, I'm going to agree. I'm going to go with Gus Edwards as my my first selection. I'm looking as we speak. I'm looking it up, looking at Davis's carries. Yeah, he's really still not getting as many. Let me look at Algier real quick. Yeah, so I'm going to agree with Dave in the top end. Algier 2. I'm actually going to go Ray Davis 3, and then really everyone else after that. It's kind of a mixed match. I don't really have a strong feeling either way after Davis. So Edwards, Algier, and Davis are the top 3 for me.
I think the only 2 guys that have any remote standalone value is Algier and Gus Edwards. I don't think the rest of these guys, like even Ford maybe, but like we haven't seen Ford and ironically Nick Chubb on the field together because Ford got hurt right when Chubb came back. So I think Ford would be my number 3. McLaughlin, I think, is a distant third now. Mason's just a handcuff, and Davis is like getting 4 touches. And in 1 week, he caught one and brought it back for a touchdown. But if he doesn't do that, you're SOL. And honestly, the Chiefs' defense is not the defense where I want to risk that floor of 5 touches. So I am going to go Gus Edwards, Gus Edwards, Algier, and then third is Ford.
3 questions in a row.
Nice. Let's do it. Oh, yeah. Whew. Let's do this. Let's go ahead.
300% agreements with Bob.
300%.
Edwards, Algier.
That's 100, 100, and 100. Yeah. I love this. I'm going to send you on more cruises. You're doing more cruises at this point.
Is this Bobby and Max Edwards
situation? I think it's clear. It's Edwards and Algier from this group.
Matt's my new burner account. I'm super excited.
Yeah, right, Derek, you want to wrap that up? But
yeah. So for Epic, go with Gus Edwards. So we got a consensus. After that, Algier is the guy, and then throw a dart for the other ones.
All right, Epic fail back. PPR, Brian Thomas Jr. with Mac Jones. Who? Mac Jones.
Who?
Rome Odunze or Xavier Worthy. And the second part of the question is pick 2, Josh Downs, Tank Dell, T. Higgins.
Okay, well, for me, out of the 3, for the first one, I'm going to go with Thomas. I don't love it, but to tell you the truth, he's the one to me that has the best opportunity out of the 3. Dunze, he gets on the field a lot, but they're just not connecting yet at a high level between Caleb Williams and Dunze. And Worthy to me is just a kind of like a gadget player. They're probably going to have both Juju and Hopkins this week available. I just don't see a lot of work there for Worthy. The second part, I'm going to go with Downs and Higgins.
Interesting. I thought we were going to have a 4-box there. For the first one, it's going to be Thomas for me as well. Again, I don't love the matchup for any of them, but he does have the highest upside. And another week with Mac Jones against Detroit, I mean, that helps as well. So give me Brian Thomas Jr. on that one. But for the other one, it's going to be Dell and Higgins for me. Higgins is back. He's healthy. He's running up hills, so we know he's strong. Dell, I think, actually going to benefit from Nico Collins being in there. And, of course, with Josh Downs, he's got Anthony Richard back under center, which means, he may get targets, he may not. We really don't know what that's going to look like. So give me more of a sure thing and give me Dell and Higgins.
I agree with Derek on this one. I'm going to go all what he said. The main reason, too, is I agree with the assessment that Nico Collins will make the offense as a whole just a lot better. I don't think it impacts Dell as much. We saw last year they played like 7 games together and they had almost identical PPR points per game. And I think it's just going to Nico getting that attention will allow Dell to really flourish. And listen, I know Downs. Good news, I'll say this: Downs and Anthony Richardson are boys. Like this, the stuff you're hearing in the media about how Downs was always there for Richardson. I like that moving forward. I'm just not in love with the matchup this week against the Jets. So I'm going to go with Dell and Higgins as well.
Okay, he can't hear me. I agree. But I'm going to agree with Derek.
Would you say? Wait, what? Say it.
I'm
One more
agreeing
time.
with Derek, who actually Bob agreed with. So
That's 4,000%. That's 400%. That's 400%.
And I'm with Dave. Worthy, when DeAndre Hopkins signed and started playing, Worthy he just kind of disappeared. Odunze is disappeared because that passing game has disappeared. Mac Jones, when he played for New England, was not good, but he wasn't what we saw last week from Mac Jones. Or was it last week? Or were they off last week?
No, they played last week.
And he was terrible. But a week's worth of practice, getting used to the play calling and whatnot. And the coaching staff in Jacksonville is not bad as far as offense goes. So I think Mac Jones will be significantly better than he was last week, but significantly better for Mac Jones is still Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Maybe we call it 2.0 if he has a decent game. But I'm going to go with Brian Thomas Jr. as well.
One thing I was going to say, do you think Xavier is unworthy of Patrick Mahomes' targets?
All
right, I'll be right back.
You stop the show for that?
No.
If this was the Gong show, the Gong would be going nuts right now.
Yeah, he's in charge, so I can only do so much.
Gong.
All right, Bill Dino, Charmin, good to see you again, Bill. PPR, can Ladd McConkey show up under the bright lights of Sunday Night Football? And will Najee's receptions be enough to outperform Ladd McConkey? Bottom line is in a PPR format, pick one for Bill Dino. Ladd McConkey at home against the Bengals, or a 1:00 game today, Najee, I believe, at home.
They're home versus Baltimore.
Yeah. What do you think, Mr. Cruz?
So for me, I hate to say it, but I'm probably going to go with Najee here. It's just a matter of opportunities for me. And the fact of the matter is, for me, Najee could probably go for 40 yards and still fall in the end zone for a touchdown. I love Ladd McConkey, but I'm usually going to go with a running back against a wide receiver.
All right, that's interesting. I've got Najee about 13 points, and I've got McConkey. Give me 1 second here. McConkey at about 12 points. So I've got the slight edge to Najee as well. So I will trust my projections and go with Najee, but just slightly.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with. Actually, you know what? What was the? How's Najee done last year against the Ravens? Let's pull that up real quick.
This is a different Ravens defense, Bob. This is. Not
I understand. I'm just trying to establish a baseline. So last year he went 26 for 112 and 1, 5 receptions for 21 yards in one game. The next game he went 14 for 37 and 1 catch for 3 yards. So it's like it could be either one.
Yeah,
I hear you. That being said, Ladd McConkey. So I'm all in on Justin Herbert this week. He's like the guy I'm excited to play this week in this matchup. And Ladd McConkey he gets about 50% of his targets in the slot and out wide. So I think that he's going to get plenty of opportunities to exploit that perimeter matchup against the Bengals that have been pretty good this season. So I'm going to go Ladd McConkey in full PPR.
Oh, thank God. Nice. Give me Najee Harris if for no other reason than I'm sick and tired of agreeing with Bob. I want the volume. I think Jaylen Warren being questionable, he's going to get less touches than Jaylen Warren managers would like to see. This is not the Baltimore defense we grew up watching. This is not a stout front. They're good, but they're not what Baltimore used to be. I think Pittsburgh is significantly better with Russell Wilson, which I can't believe I'm saying, but anybody that disagrees is not watching football with their eyes. They're watching it through some ridiculous box score they don't understand. So Najee Harris, like Dave said, could go for 40 yards and just fall into the end zone. I have him as an anytime touchdown as well, and probably over 55 yards on the ground. So for me, it's Najee. I think Ladd will have a fine game, and I agree with Bob. Justin Herbert is going to be fine today. The only way I would pivot from Najee is the fact that Cincinnati has not really stopped anybody this season. I think they've had one really good game on defense. The rest, Burrow's going to have to show out to score additional points. So for me, it's Najee. So Eric, I think that's mostly Najee from this
group. So for Bill, tracking it at home, it's 3-1 Najee, but we all think it's fairly close. So if that helps you or not, good luck.
Yeah, and if the non-analysis guy, that's me, says, which guy would you rather watch? Either do what you need or break your heart. So if you think Ladd McConkey is more fun than watching Najee Harris the Mutter, then go after Ladd McConkey and watch that on Sunday night. So good call. But the three of us have said Najee, clearly Bob is wrong. Cool. Epic fail. Quarterback Tua, Timu Justin Fields, or Jameis. Also need the kicker of the week report, which we will get to. Bob, I assume we're going to get some kickers and defenses from you at some point.
Love it.
But let's focus right now on the quarterback question of Tua, Timu Justin Fields, and famous Jameis. Dave.
For me, I'm gonna. I think he's the least talented of the three, but he's the most fun of the three. I'm going to go with Jameis in New Orleans. I think New Orleans has been tough against the pass, but that pass defense is a different story now. Cleveland's a little bit of a mess on the line, so there is a shot that they could get pressure. But I'm going to take Jameis out of the three. Not ready to jump back in on A-Rich, although I'm starting him in a few places. And for Tua, I think they could probably do a lot of damage against the Raiders just running the football. So I'll take Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I'm going to take Jameis as well. This is a revenge game. Back to New Orleans. And, we know he likes to put it up, and he's not afraid to make a mistake and come out and keep tossing it. So, give me Jameis Winston on this one as well.
I'm going Tua. I'm not interested. Listen, the Jameis experience was fun against Baltimore. Now New Orleans, listen, I know they're injured on the perimeter, but it's a scheme thing with them. They still don't allow a ton of fantasy points out wide this season. Even though Drake London and also Mooney had decent games last week, Kirk Cousins really didn't blow up last week against the Saints. So I think I would use that as my baseline. So I'm still going to go Tua here.
I think Tua will get his this week, but they're going to run the ball with Achane and Mostert because the Raiders are just god-awful. They're not a good football team. But I'm going to go with Dave and Derek here. I think Jameis is going to throw all day. He has no short-term memory, so 3 interceptions is very possible, but he could also go for 4 touchdowns. 350 before you blink. So I like Derek Carr versus Jameis Winston in this one. I think it's going to be a fun one to watch, or it's going to be 9-6, and everybody's going to be disappointed in all those offensive players. But I like Jameis to just drop back and throw the ball a lot. Tua is a fine start as well. Of the 3, I'm not starting the third name in there. I don't have any. In fact, I think Derek, was it you and I and my pros with Joe's league, we actually, the 3 of us, him and I, and then you and I in a separate text thread, we joked about adding Anthony Richardson, and it was just that. It was a joke. We all laughed it off. It was funny. And remember, this was almost a consensus top 5 quarterback off the board, especially in Superflex. He was flying off the board. So no interest in him for me. I think Tua, you will be fine. And I think Jameis, you will be fine, and it'll probably be a little bit more fun to watch. All right, Derek, wrap it up. Is that Jameis from us?
3-1 Jameis.
All right.
All right, I'm feeling better, Bob. I'm starting to get a lather going here. That two disagreements in a row. Jamie, good morning to you too. Looks like Jamie's got a cup of coffee going. This is the question that came in. I asked Jamie a follow-up. Mac Jones or Elijah Moore, currently leaning more. If this is a super flex league,
it is.
Then it is. So he responded.
Yes.
Okay. Super flex. Okay. I'll turn it over to Dave so I can think about it for a minute. Super flex, Dave. Mac Jones or Elijah Moore?
Wow. I am not afraid to start a position player other than quarterback in the super flex. But is Elijah Moore good enough to be that guy? He's been getting a lot of targets since Jameis took over, but they haven't really been translating. Mac Jones probably can outscore Elijah Moore this week. But Elijah Moore almost never gets into the end zone. So I'm probably going to lean Mac Jones here, but I understand the question entirely.
Yeah, so I wrote up a little blurb on Elijah Moore in my DFS article this week. I mean, the Browns receivers have the best slot matchup in our slot versus wide tool this week. I mean, the Saints are giving up a league worst 19, almost 20 fantasy points to the slot. And for the Browns, that favors Elijah Moore. 70% of his scoring is out of the slot. So I do like Elijah Moore, but that said, I think one of you said it. I'm not really as concerned with Mac Jones as the tape showed last week. You know, I think it helps that they're traveling to Detroit. I mean, he's gonna have to throw. I mean, Detroit's gonna score points. It's indoors. It's a fast carpet. And, you know, they need to, well, they're probably going to try to start to control the clock with ETN. But, you know, how long is that going to last? He's going to have to throw the ball. So assuming that, you know, he can take advantage of a somewhat leaky Detroit passing defense because there are points for wide receivers against the Detroit defense. And the game planning should kind of favor that. So I do like Elijah Moore. May even have a prop bet. May or may not have a prop bet on him. But that said, I think for a super flex position, I'm going to go with Mac Jones as well. And just as a side note, I agree with you, Dave. I don't always feel that you have to start a quarterback in the super flex. I've had plenty of success with a position player in that position. But again, in this case, I think the safer play is going to be Mac Jones.
I'm going to go Elijah Moore, full PPR. I'll probably just go with it. It was a dumpster fire last week. 111 passing yards, 2 interceptions. I think Mac Jones will be better. I just don't know how much better. Detroit is not they're starting to get real good across the board. So I am going to go Elijah Moore. I'm going to go with the numbers and just hope that he'll get 9 targets again. So he's getting a lot of targets. In the Baltimore game, he had 16 PPR points. So I don't really see a scenario where Mac Jones does that.
Agree with everything that Derek said. Give me the volume from Mac Jones, even if he's chucking a couple interceptions. The defensive backs in Detroit are not great. They're known to hold. They're high on the pass interference list. The numbers say Elijah Moore, but I'm going to go with Mac Jones in what I think is going to be a game script where he has to throw the ball 40 times if they're going to win. And I wonder out loud that the name was mentioned here, but the name has not been in the questions yet. Can we get a Travis Etienne game with 4 or 5 dump downs, right, where he's been known to make a lot of his money like Rashad White? Or, that's right there on live camera and volume. That was
let's not forget it, to save Doug Peterson's job game. They leaked to the media that Peterson will be fired if he loses.
Yeah, but this is a save Doug Peterson's job in Jacksonville as the head coach. He will immediately be picked up by another team for the 2025 season if he gets probably as an OC or a passing game coordinator. So we got all right, Derek. What do we have? 3 Mac Jones and Bob.
3 Mac and Bob.
All right. Cheesecake 22, Rico Dowdle or Brian Thomas in the flex. It's a full PPR scoring system, Dave.
I'm going to go Dowdle. I don't feel great about it. I think Thomas has a chance to have a pretty good game, but I just think that Dowdle will have a little bit more volume, and he could certainly score a touchdown. I doubt that Dallas is going to lean on Zeke in the red zone. So give me Dowdle by a hair.
Yeah, well, I've already explained why I don't like Dowdle this week, and obviously there's some concern with Brian Thomas as well. So, but I'm gonna lean with the wide receiver in a PPR. Give me Brian Thomas again in a situation where Jacksonville is going to need to throw the ball. So I'll take my chances with Brian Thomas.
Oh wow, man! You know what? I can't. After last week, I'm okay with just not being interested in Jacksonville right now. So I'm going to go Rico Dowdle. He's the starter now. He's the main guy for the Dallas Cowboys. And I know the Texans are going to be down some key guys up front. So hopefully that helps them. And hopefully Cooper Rush can turn back the clock a little bit to 2022 and actually play a little bit better.
All right, so we had 4 agreements with Bob out of the gate. Now we've got 4 disagreements. It's almost as if we started the show over again. And from my perspective,
law of averages, you know.
I could not be happier to admit that Bob and I are now on even ground, zero-sum game, whatever the cliche you want to use. Give me Brian Thomas. The Dallas cannot get out of their own way. They don't know where they're headed on offense. They don't know what they're doing on defense. Jerry is back in the news, which means that they're not focused on football. So give me Brian Thomas because I'm somewhat okay with playing Mac Jones in a bye week or a super flex position. Yeah. Brian Thomas for me.
So, Derek, are you keeping score of the Bobby Matt disagreements?
No, I'm not getting down to that level. I know Matt will do it for us.
There's not enough time. There's not enough time in that. You know what I mean?
We're even.
Matt's keeping track. Don't worry about it.
That was 2-2, right?
Yes, that one was 2-2. So not much help for Cheesecake today.
Joe Chris, Miami or Denver defense? Oh my, Dave, what do you think? Miami playing against the Raiders, at home against the Raiders. Raiders having to travel east for the early game.
And who's Denver got today?
Denver is at home afternoon game against the Falcons.
I will take Denver here. I don't think Miami's defense is completely gelled. I know they're playing the Raiders, who are a bit of a mess, but Denver's got a pretty good defensive unit. I think they can get to Kirk Cousins today and at least generate some sacks and probably a couple of turnovers.
Yeah, I actually don't mind either one of these. I'm going to lean Miami though. Atlanta. I mean, Denver's got a great secondary and probably going to shut down those receivers pretty well. But they, still got Bijan back there. This could be a big Bijan game to me. I just kind of have a feeling that it's going to that's sitting there ready for the taking. On the other side, Vegas traveling to Miami cross country, and there's really nothing on the Vegas offense that really even Brock now Bowers he's come back down to earth, and I think we're still kind of riding his early season, in some of our projections. I don't see that Vegas really has much of a fight, and Miami still has a shot, and they're at home, getting back into the groove. So I'm going to go with Miami on this one.
I'm going Dolphins. Yeah, the way they played against the Rams just a week ago, Matthew Stafford at home, and they held them in check. And by the way, the Miami Dolphins can't play around. This isn't like, hey, you could just fall asleep this week and it's not like they're 6-3 and they can just have a bad week. No, they're back. They need to win out to basically make the playoffs. So I think they got to be on it. And I'm going to say Miami here.
I'm going to go with Miami as well. The Raiders traveling east, early game. And by the way, it is unseasonably hot and humid central to South Florida. The Raiders are not going to know what to do with that humidity today. So that's going to cause them problems as it gets later in the game, which means that the offensive line will be tired. And Miami is going to probably run the ball, which means that the Raiders will have less time on offense to to hurt the Miami defense. So give me the Dolphins defense as well.
All right, go with Miami.
There you go. Epic Fail is back again. PPR, Algier or Javante or Justice Hill or Braylon Allen or Charbonnet. So let me put this in better English. Algier, Javante, Justice Hill, Braylon, or Charbonnet. Down so bad this week. Jay, pick one PPR running back.
I'm going to go with Algier. Ordinarily, Javante would be a smash for me, but I have no idea what to expect in Denver now. Love Justice Hill, but, it's very inconsistent. Braylon Allen could get 10 points. He could get 2. And, when Kenny Walker is healthy, Charbonnet doesn't have much of a shot to me. So I think Algier out of the 5 guys is probably going to have the most touches.
Yeah, everything that Dave just said, I agree with. It's going to be Algier for me. There's question marks on all these guys, but if you're looking for one, and it sounds like you need a smash play, upside. You could probably argue some upside for all these guys, but certainly Algier is probably the one that's most likely to at least give you something worthwhile, if not, again, a smash. So give me Algier.
In full PPR, I'm going to go Justice Hill if I need upside.
We're back. That didn't take long. Justice Hill for me.
I love this.
Here, let me ask you this question and see if anybody disagrees. I'll make a statement. If you disagree, raise your hand. The 2025 1.01 is Bijan Robinson.
I think it depends on how good he is.
Yeah, if you disagree with that, you're not watching football. He is the best player in the NFL right now, offensive.
So that's the guy who spent the last 2 weekends on a cruise.
Well, I'm sober now, so
congratulations.
Thank you. Did I say that out loud? I don't want it on record. I think I'm sober right now.
I get told all the time on Twitter I don't know football, so I feel right at home.
Yeah.
Yes. This group will tell you very quick that you don't know anything, and then they'll tell you they love you, and then they'll move on to the 1:00 game. So, Bob, we've got about 17 minutes ahead of the hour. Let's rip through these questions, and then we're going to turn it over to you for injuries, and then we'll come back with kicker defense-y type stuff. Good? Maybe?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Denzel Barrett, Amari Cooper. Oh, wait. What did we agree on? We agreed on 2 and 2, Justice Hill.
Yeah, it was 2-2.
I will say, on the positive side of the gentleman that picked Algier, this is an outdoor game. The Falcons are traveling to Denver. You've got the air quality issue in Denver, right? It's going to be difficult for a dome team to play at that altitude, or so at least the experts say. Bijan has always played on turf. Algier is more of a low to the ground, more powerful runner. So outside, on the grass, he may be the better choice over Justice Hill. But I cannot get the Justice Hill, 7 or 8 catch game where he went crazy. I can't get that out of my head, and I think that the Pittsburgh defense may require that it's dumped down City to Justice Hill. So that's where I stand. I'd be okay starting either. I wouldn't love it, but I would be okay starting either, considering what did he say? He's down bad. All right, Denzel Barrett. We have 2 wide receiver, 1 flex is the need. I do not see a PPR, so we're going to assume half point PPR. Okay, Bob, or excuse me, Dave. 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, half PPR. Amari Cooper, Garrett Wilson, Greg London, Nick Chubb, Jawan Jennings.
My 2 wide receivers are going to be Garrett Wilson and Jawan Jennings. I just like for me, Garrett Wilson is a start over any of these other wide receivers. And I think the 49ers matchup against the Seahawks is a real good one for the 49ers passing game. So I will take Jennings over London slightly in Denver. As far as my flex, I do think this is probably the game where we see a little bit more of old school Nick Chubb. So give me him as my flex.
Well, Dave.
Hi, Bob. Hi, Bob's wife. Hi, Bob's wife.
She can't hear you.
I know.
I got the headphones in. I trust me. I put these on for a reason. Okay, I don't need them hearing all the nonsense that comes out of your mouth, young man. So,
Yeah. So Dave, I'm here to tell you, you do know football. I totally agree with you. But Garrett Wilson is a definite start here, no question about it. And then with Jennings, we saw. I mean, Kittle's supposed to be out today. That's where it's trending. We saw when Jennings was healthy and Kittle was out, we saw just a totally different guy. And you want that today, versus the Seahawks. If Kittle is going to be out, which again it looks like he is. So yeah, I definitely want to start Jennings over London as well in Denver. So yeah, I totally agree with you there. And then the same with Nick Chubb. I'm all in for Nick Chubb this week. I think this one just lines up for the pre-injury Nick Chubb to reassert himself. This is the game to do it. So I'm really high on him this week. I really and just a fan of Nick Chubb. Frankly, I want to see him back to being close to 100%. And he's had a few games to get the game speed and get confidence in his knee. And this should be the game where we really see old school Nick Chubb. So yeah, I'm happy with him in the flex as well.
I'm going to go Wilson and Jennings as well, but I'm going to go Quentin Johnston this week. I think he's really emerged as like the number one, and this is the Chargers. We have not seen them yet have to really air it out. And I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to put up points against their defense, and I think this is the first time they're going to actually have to put up points. So I'm going Quentin Johnston. I'm still kind of interested to see. Like Nick Chubb, I think still needs a little more time before I start putting him in my lineups.
I want to agree with Bob. I don't want to agree with Bob. I want to agree with what Bob said. But I'm going to go Garrett Wilson and Jawan Jennings as the two for sure wide receiver plays. I want the flex to be London, but most leagues where you have Drake London, you're starting Drake London. But I'm gonna lean ever so slightly Nick Chubb for volume. I think a lot of the things Derek said are on point. But I was going to say, if Bob didn't mention, I think Quentin Johnston is the sneaky play, and probably if you need floor, Nick Chubb. If you need ceiling, you could get 2 touchdowns from Quentin Johnston. It is a Justin Herbert week. They're going to have to score to play with Cincinnati. So for me, give me what the other two gentlemen said. Give me Garrett Wilson, Jennings, and Chubb for the volume. But I think if you need a ceiling play, Quentin Johnston is fine with me. And I don't like Amari Cooper's matchup against the Chiefs. I don't like Drake London, but I have leagues where I roster Drake London and he starts because, frankly, I don't have a Jawan Jennings to play over him. So, again, for me, Garrett Wilson, Jawan Jennings, Nick Chubb by a hair over Quentin Johnston.
And I think that just goes to show, and there's probably a lot of people out there that are struggling as well. Not a single one of us picked Drake London this week, and that just kind of shows you what, how well that the Denver defense is playing, and especially, those matchup cornerbacks. So it's unfortunately there's going to be a lot of people, I think, struggling with the Drake London decision this week, but thankfully for Danzel, he's got a number of good other options to choose from.
Yeah. And if you need a little bit of a sale on no Drake London today, for those of you that roster him, Derek and I, we mention it a lot, or I mention it and he just chimes in. We have a home league that we're in through Yahoo. Drake London would not be starting for us if Tyrone Tracy, Bucky Irving, or James Conner were not on bye. We would probably start any of those three over Drake London this week. But buys are what they are. The only player that we have available on our bench, and we're choosing London over him, is DJ Moore. DJ Moore is borderline droppable, and I think I'd rather take my chances with the better offense and the better player in London. But I do not love Drake London this week. It's a matter of I don't have a better option. So, yeah, it's a very good point. All right, so Danzel is back with another question. Sam Darnold or Geno Smith? Dave, what do you think? Geno is playing against the Niners in a 4:00 game, and we've got Darnold, the aforementioned matchup against
Tennessee, and
the Vikings are on the road outdoors at Tennessee.
Yeah, I may be on the island again here, but I'm going to go with Geno Smith against the 49ers. I just think they will have to probably pass quite a lot to keep up with the 49ers. And, Geno if he's not still the yardage leader, he's certainly real close. So give me Geno Smith over Sam Darnold today. I just like Geno a little better.
Yeah, well, if you're on an island, Dave, I'm with you because I've got Geno as a top 10 quarterback for me this week. DK Metcalf is back. He's got the full complement coming off a bye week. They know, Seattle knows San Francisco. There's not really a lot of uncertainty there. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Geno as well this week.
On the road against Tennessee, huh? I'm going to go Sam Darnold.
All right, mark down 3 for Geno Smith.
Who's on the island now, Dave? Huh? You know what I mean? You're over there. You're just pretending like you're on an island. I'm actually on an island.
No, it's me and you, Bob. We take turns.
All right, that's cool. I like to rotate.
And part of this is, as much as I hate to even mention it, but it's an extremely sad, tragic story. The top cornerback for San Francisco is Charvarius Ward, who unexpectedly lost his 1-year-old daughter 2 weeks ago. So he's not playing in the game. I think that you've got probably a lot of people and folks that play on that team that are emotionally affected by that. But in football terms alone, the top cornerback is gone. And as fun as fantasy football is, you still have to put a team out there, and you want to go after the team that has the least chance of stopping your wide receivers. Fully healthy DK, Tyler Lockett, who does what he does from time to time, and I think JSN, even though JSN doesn't have a great matchup. But for me, it's Geno, and I'm very sad at the story I heard when I was on the cruise about that young man's daughter passing. Just tragic, terrible stuff. Drew Brees, which is interesting. This would have been a time for Sky to be on the show because he loves when we get the big names come in and say hello. So Drew Brees is in. We may need to work on Drew Brees' spelling and maybe some capitalization, but that's okay. He played football in college. He probably didn't go to a lot of classes. Hey, in a standard league, 2 out of these 5, Estime, Gus Edwards, Josh Palmer, Alec Pierce, Christian Watson. Reminder, Dave, this is a standard league. Give us 2 of those 5 names.
The fact that it's a standard league, I'm going with the running backs. I'll throw the dart at Estime just to see if he's the new guy there. And I think Gus will have enough touches and has the upside of a touchdown in the game. The wide receivers just aren't big enough on their offenses for me to put them in a non-PPR league.
Yeah, it's going to be the 2 running backs for me as well in the standard league. I'll take the chance on Estime as well. And, of course, we already talked about Gus. I like him. So give me the 2 running backs.
Standard, Drew. I know Drew Brees is retired and it's an old school mindset here, but man, let's get a half PPR in this league. Come on, we got this. Estime is a lock for me. And honestly, I think I'm just going to keep leaning into that Chargers game and go Palmer. So I'm going to go Palmer and Estime.
I'm going to go with the 2 running backs as well. Estime, Gus Edwards, who's getting more run. This feels like the time of the year when the Chargers have come to the realization and admitted that J.K. Dobbins probably needs a little bit more of a breather. He's not a big body, and they need to probably limit his touches a little bit more. The same way Minnesota probably needs to give Aaron Jones a little bit more time off the field with his chest injury. So give me Estime and give me Gus Edwards. I'm with Bob in the fact that if I had to start one of the 3 wide receivers, probably be Palmer. Christian Watson is great in standard, best ball. He's not great in non-best ball. He's just too hard to predict what's going to happen with that offense and him as again, he needs 1 catch to make your day great. But if he doesn't get that 1 catch and he goes 2 for 13, then it's not a good outcome for you.
Yeah. And Derek was so distraught with agreeing with me, he had to go to the bathroom.
It happens. Yeah, he doesn't like to show emotion on the show, Dave. That's me. I wear it on my sleeve. Derek's probably off taking a couple of deep breaths. Our old friend Cosmo and his wonderful profile photo of the puppy. We love to see that here on the show. We are dog lovers. I won't even ask. I know we are. Bob has a cat. That's weird.
It's not true at all. That's not even remotely accurate. That is literally the opposite of the truth. I have a dog. That is not even. We're not doing that. Don't even put those words in your mouth. I don't know what you're doing on that boat, but like you better get your shit together up there, right?
Raise your hand if you thought Bob had at least one cat.
Derek, don't even. Derek's just doing this on Wednesdays. Me and Derek are so close that he knows he can get away with this now. He's like, me and Bob are buds. I can do fun stuff. That's not me and Matt. We don't do shows one-on-one anymore, so I don't want to hear it.
I had to drop off. I came back in halfway through the conversation, so I was just taking my chances.
So, Derek, did you change your shirt?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's the Razzball.
The Razzball 6, baby.
It's the Razzball 6 shirt. So,
all right,
anyway.
Cosmo needs in the half-point
Yeah.
PPR. He needs to start one. JSN, Evan Ingram, Adunze, Keenan Allen, and Mostert. All right. Dave, when you go to answer this, don't forget JSN is one of the names as well.
Oh, fucking terrible.
Out of those 5, it just comes down to JSN and Ingram for me. The other 3, I'm not crazy about the Chicago wide receivers at this point in time. And Mostert, I don't know if he's the third down back, the goal line back. It comes down to who I think has probably got a shot at the most volume. And as good as the Niners defense is, with the full complement of receivers, they're probably weakest against the slot. So I think I'm gonna take JSN here by hair over Evan Ingram.
Yeah, I wish if it was start 2, this would be a pretty easy question. It would be JSN and Ingram, but if you're going to start 1 half PPR, Ingram is or should be a target monster, really. And so for someone like Mac Jones, who, coming off the game that he's coming off of, you got to realize, where that bread is going to be buttered, and it's going to be with Evan Ingram. So. And with DK back in the fold as well, I think he's going to be the primary, kind of reduces JSN a little bit. So give me Evan Ingram and crossing my fingers for volume.
Man. I honestly, I would say, I know this is going to be a bad take, but like, God, no, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to do it. Sure. Ingram's got one of the worst matchups on the week against Detroit. They're so good against tight ends this season. It's insane. But to be honest with you, none of these guys really have a screaming matchup. But JSN, I think I'll Noah Fant's out, so maybe that'll help him get a little more of the in middle of the field stuff. So give me JSN.
All right. So now I'm gonna give you my name, but then Bob, I want you to agree to say what you said you weren't going to say. Because you've already given your answer, now you can say what you weren't going to say. I will say this: it makes my guts upset, but I could see, and I've seen it, but I don't have the guts to play the player and manifest it. This is probably the game Mostert goes for 125 and 2. Now. Don't say that. He got 0
carries. He got 0 carries last week. Yeah. If he does that, I will lose my mind.
Right, but we do fantasy football for a sub-living, right? This is the exact thing that we would never see coming, that when it happens, we're like, there's no reason that should have ever happened. But I kind of get it. Mostert's this guy, right, blah, blah, blah. He breaks a couple long ones. It's not going to happen, but text me when it does. I'm going to go with JSN as well. I don't like Ingram's matchup, but I'm with Derek and what he said. Mac Jones could be check down Charlie all day, and that's where Evan Ingram has made his money over the last couple of seasons, being the check down tight end. Very few yards run after the catch for him. Give me JSN. I want it to be Ingram, but I think it's going to be JSN. All right, now Bob, tell the audience what you weren't going to say.
Never agreed to that, so no, we're moving on to the next thing.
No, I have control of the board, and we won't move on until you say what it is that. Don't make me take you off the screen. Don't touch the questions.
I said it. I said it already. I'm good. I'm not a big JSN guy. Like I honestly, he's been very disappointing this season. But actually, what I was going to say is maybe this is the week where Rome Odunze catches a long one against the Packers. But I was like, I don't really believe that, so I didn't say it.
So JSN, Jalen Waddle, Tyler Boyd. That's your 3 of your 4 Mount Rushmore wide receivers is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. It is. Unfortunately, I can't argue with you. I don't know who the 4th is. I'll have to think about it. But yes, yeah. JSN is officially chiseled up there after his 5 for 45 every week that he gets. So,
all right, we're about to break here. Let's get through JCW. My backup quarterback is Tua as I bench Jade Nunn Thursday Night Football. Good move. Thursday Night Football jinx. Tua gets the Raiders. Hold or drop Tua for Russ Wilson, who hosts the Ravens, or Drake May, who hosts the Rams, or that bad man, Aaron Rodgers, who hosts the Colts. Tua is already past his bye. Dave, I'm going to skip you for just 1 second. I'm going to let Derek go first because if you've heard the term never Trumper as politics goes, the gentleman right below you in this quad box has for years been a never A-Rod. So, Derek, I'm going to give you the floor. I'm going to let you stand behind your pulpit and discuss what's happened in your guillotine league over the last few days.
Yeah. Let me get a little bit of backstory. So, Tua was available this week on waivers. I passed on picking him up. Drake May is my starting quarterback. I had to drop a second quarterback to get a running back. So there's the story. So I have a desire for a second quarterback. If Russ Wilson was out there, I would have picked up Russell Wilson. I passed on Tua in free agency, so that tells you where I'm at.
And $0 free agency at that point, right?
Yeah, I would have bet a couple bucks, but yeah, I passed on Tua because I felt it was better to go a different way. If Russ Wilson was there, I would have taken him. Again, I already own Drake May versus the Rams, so I like that one first. And then I had to consider Aaron Rodgers or a couple other options. One was Jameis, and the other one was Anthony Richardson. So I actually went with Aaron Rodgers against the Colts, not because I have any faith in him. In fact, he'll be my drop next week should I survive. But I like the matchup with the Colts, and I have Devontae Adams as well. So I chose Aaron Rodgers over Tua.
But you would not have chosen him over Russ Wilson.
I would not have chosen him over Russ Wilson. I would not have chosen him over Drake May if Drake May was available. And I did over Tua. So to come full circle in answering this question, I like Drake May and Russell Wilson over Tua this week. I know in his next post he talks about the bye weeks, but for this week alone, I like Russ Wilson and Drake May over Tua.
All right, Dave, back to you.
Yeah, I mean, for this week alone, I'm going Drake May against the Rams. In my Pros with Joe's league, we have Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. I give you one guess to see who's on the bench there. I know you coming up. You've got a Week 14 bye. For that reason, I probably would pick up Wilson instead of May if you're planning on holding him for several weeks to deal with the bye week. But for this week, for my purposes, this week May's
Yeah, I would say for when you're looking at this entire situation, like, do you need to win? Like, are you like right now, if you're the 1 seed, can you get away with playing around with Tua because you want to play him later in the year? But I think all this is right. Drake May and Russell Wilson are better starts this week. Russell Wilson, by the way, I don't want to get too high on Russ, but like the perfect matchup for him is Baltimore. Baltimore gets – did you watch Jameis Winston a few weeks ago? How you beat the Ravens is vertically down the field, and that's what they're going to want to do with Mike Williams and George Pickens. So Wilson would be my start this week, and on top of the fact that if you need a 14 start, week 14 for Jaden Daniels, you get him against Cleveland, which isn't as great of a matchup, but I think he'll be fine. So I'm going to go Russ Wilson.
I'm going Wilson as well. I think Aaron Rodgers is fine for this week. Long term, it's Russ or Tua. But based on the names that are on the waiver wire right now for JCW, I think you play it week by week. If you want to play Tua this week and you're safe with Tua, do that. If you want the long term play, it's probably Russell Wilson, and you could add him now. And like Bob said, great matchup this week. I think Russ could be the answer long term, but you're going to get Jaden Daniels. You're going to play him most weeks. So you just need somebody in week 14. Russ Wilson at the Browns looks as tasty as any of the other matchups to me. So you have to play one of them this week. I choose Russ Wilson, and I probably choose him for the remainder of the season until he shows that he's the Russell Wilson that was in Denver, which, by the way, didn't look good to the eye test, but the statistics for fantasy football were okay. They weren't great, but they were all right. Here's the rest of the question from JCW, where he just lists the buys. All right, last question, Bob. Then we're going to break to you. Epic fail, half point PPR, pick 2, Jameson Williams, Calvin Ridley, Quentin Johnston, Cedric Tillman. This is easy for me. Dave, over to you.
Yeah, I actually like all of these guys quite a bit, but my 2 out of these 4 are Ridley and Tillman.
Garrett?
Yeah, give me Ridley and Tillman as well.
Bob?
Home golf against Jacksonville's perimeter defense. Man, no love for Jameson. This is a really good question, actually. It's not as easy for me. Shit. I'm going to go Ridley and Quentin Johnston.
Ridley and Tillman, that's 3 of the 4 for Ridley and Tillman. Bob, we have questions lining up. We will get back to those. Hit us with your injury report, and then maybe we'll touch on some kickers and defenses as time permits.
Yeah, we got it here, folks. All right, let's get into some of the quick injuries. This is going to be a quick one this week, guys. Not that many injuries. There's a couple fun ones, though, a couple cluster injuries in the secondary that are going to definitely impact week 11. So let's get into these right now. All right. All right, let's start off the top. Raiders, Dolphins. One of the key injuries today for the Raiders defense is Nate Hobbs, who's the slot cornerback and kind of one of the better perimeter guys for the Raiders. Tyreek Hill, with Tua back in the lineup, has split about almost 40% of his fantasy points has been in the slot. I really like Tyreek Hill this week. Jumping down to the other side of the football for the Dolphins, they'll be down Kendall Fuller, one of their better outside cornerbacks as well. Also, Jalen Ramsey's dealing with an injury himself, so the Dolphins' secondary is a little banged up. I'm expecting game flow-wise the Dolphins to dominate. I don't think Jacoby Myers is a terrible wide receiver 3 if you need him, knowing these injuries. Jumping down to the Browns and Saints, Jedrick Wills, the right tackle, is out today for the Browns, unfortunately. They're also going to be down one of their key linebackers. So, honestly, Alvin Kamara is one of the guys that we all love and know. But obviously, I think if you're looking at player props and stuff, knowing that the Browns will be down their key middle linebacker is huge for them. On the other side of the football, Eric McCoy is back in. That's like their stud center. That kind of goes hand in hand with the injury to Jeremiah Usu-Koramoah. I almost had it. I feel like I got 95% of the name right. That's all good. But Eric McCoy is like their Pro Bowl caliber center. He's back in the lineup today. That's huge news. Also, Jamal Williams is out again. So we've talked a lot about Taysom Hill getting a little more work over the last few weeks. I don't really love the matchup necessarily against the Browns for a tight end, but he does get a lot of work. The Saints are home. I do think Taysom Hill, I might need to check those home road splits, but I think he's still in play as a tight end if you need it this week. Chris Olave is going to be on IR for a while. Obviously today, Mason Tipton, who is their young player, is healthy scratch So I think they're locked into MVS and also Cedric Wilson this week against the Browns. So obviously I know MVS is a popular streamer this week as maybe a wide receiver 3, but just keep in mind that the Browns aren't an air yards defense. So I'm not overly excited for MVS necessarily as a wide receiver 3, but Cedric Wilson makes an interesting name too if you're looking for a DFS name that's really cheap. Jump over the Colts at Jets. The Colts offensive line is extremely banged up. They're going to be down their left tackle and their starting center this week against the Jets. Anthony Richardson is back in as well as the starting quarterback. So, listen, I think the Jets defense is got an opportunity to bounce back this week and are an interesting streamer. Michael Pittman is in but has struggled with Anthony Richardson. I think he's best on benches against a tough Jets corner duo. On the other side of the football, the Jets are going to be down their left tackle, Tyrone Smith. I do think that's going to be problematic for Aaron Rodgers against a very healthy now Colts front. Not excited overall for that game offensively, but I do think you can always start Adams and Garrett Wilson, of course, Breece Hall. On the other side of the football, C.J. Mosley, the linebacker, is out. That's been really notable for the ground games against the Jets. And I think that, of course, Jonathan Taylor, we don't need to tell you to start him, but that should help his matchup this week. Vikings at Titans. Jumping down, so a couple of the Titans offensive linemen are going to be out today, Watson and Cransberry against that Vikings defense. I think if you have the shot at the Vikings D, I think that's probably one of the better starts this week. They've been very good against pocket passers this season, and especially the last few weeks. So I do like the Vikings D, especially in DFS if you want to put them in. On the other side of the football, though, they are going to be down the Titans, 2 of their starting defensive backs, L'Jarius Sneed and Quantrell Diggs. I think that really helps Sam Darnold's matchup. And also, if you're looking, of course, Justin Jefferson, I don't know if I'm really going to get cute and start Jordan Addison this week, but Jefferson should smash once again with these injuries. Packers at Bears. The Packers secondary is officially in and healthy with Jair Alexander and Evan Williams. I know that's a popular streamer this week, and I do agree that the Packers are a solid stream. The Bears are going to be banged up a little bit. They did get their starting tackles back, but they will be down Telvin Jenkins. So a lot of injuries and movement up front for the Bears. So I do think the Packers are okay as well. Jumping over down to the Jags-Lions game. Of course, no Trevor Lawrence and Tank Bigsby this week, so it should be a Travis Etienne. In the passing game, hopefully, it's been tough sledding for guys to run the ball against the Lions this season, especially with the solid front they have. But honestly, I think with Tank Bigsby out, I do think that Travis Etienne does get a little more passing game work this week, and he's a solid RB2. We also have Cam Robinson was traded. The reason why we brought that up was because they were dealing with some injuries to the offensive line. The good news is that Ezra Cleveland, starting guard, is back. So for those Mac Jones truthers on the podcast today, good news for you guys. He does get some help on the offensive line with their guard back. Sam Laporta is out today. That's always interesting. I do think that, in my opinion, does help Jamison Williams. They don't really have Brock Wright is their backup. He does get a little work, but he's not as involved as Sam Laporta. Amon-Ra, and I think Jahmyr Gibbs is my start of the week in DFS. I think he's going to absolutely smash in the passing game today versus the Jaguars. Jumping down to the late windows, well, not necessarily, but the Rams and Patriots and the Ravens and Steelers don't have a lot going on here. You don't need to risk. So Robert Havenstein is out the right tackle, but I'm not overly concerned against the Pats. But the Rams are traveling, a West Coast team, for a 10 a.m. game on the East Coast. Could be notable. The Pats defense might be an underrated play this week. Ravens at Steelers. Alex Hyde-Smith is out. That's the other bookend opposite TJ Watt. So that should definitely help the Ravens passing attack and run game this week. And that offense as a whole. Seahawks, 49ers, Noah Fant is out today. I do think that gives JSN a slight bump. Listen, Geno Smith and company have not done well against the 49ers in the 2 seasons Geno's been the starter, but good news for them is that Tre'Davious Ward on the other side is out today. That should definitely help DK Metcalf. I think Metcalf is, of course, our favorite play of that group. Connor Williams is the starting center for the Seahawks. He did retire this week, which is kind of random. The Seahawks offensive line has struggled this season, so I'm a little concerned about their starting center deciding in the middle of the year retiring. So something to watch for the Seahawks this week. George Kittle has been ruled out today. That is going to be big time news for Juwan Jennings. I think, honestly, I'm actually starting Jennings over CeeDee Lamb this week. Never thought I would be saying that this season, but I am getting Jennings in my lineups where I have him, knowing that George Kittle is out. All right, we're getting to some fun ones here. Falcons, Broncos. Drew Dahlman is the starting center for the Falcons. He's back in. He's been out since week 3. That should be definitely good news for your Bijan Robinsons and Tyler Algiers as they get healthy up front. On the other side of the football, though, there's a lot of question marks for that Falcons defense. They're going to be missing a couple guys up front, and James Smith-Williams and Graham. Troy Anderson is out, their starting linebacker. Relenzo Carter is a starting linebacker. He's questionable today. We won't know until later. They're also going to be down 2 of their 3 starting cornerbacks. So the Falcons are extremely banged up on defense, playing against the Broncos this week. Listen, I know Aldrick Estime is not necessarily a smash start this week, but I think the injuries to this team is very notable. And also remember, Cortland Sutton, the Falcons have allowed a decent amount of fantasy points out wide. They do have a really solid A.J. Terrell corner, but they are a heavy zone defense. So it doesn't really matter if they shadow him. He's only going to be on a certain part of the field for him in zone. So I do think Cortland Sutton does have a decent matchup with 2 of the 3 starting cornerbacks out today for the Falcons. On the Chiefs at Bills, Dalton Kincaid is the biggest news this week, out for the Bills. Also, Keon Coleman. Amari Cooper is questionable and expected to play. There's been news that he might wear a cast on his wrist when he plays. I don't know if that's easy to catch footballs, but I honestly would be a little concerned. I actually love Khalil Shakir in this matchup. I think he's a rock-solid PPR play this week, high floor option for you if you need to start somebody in the Bills receiving core. Don't want to forget about, if you want to get real weird, Curtis Samuel did get a lot of work last week in his spot start, and knowing these injuries could be notable there. Matt Milano is a name to watch. He's the stud middle linebacker for the Bills, should be returning from a torn biceps starting maybe this week. So that is big news for the Bills run defense. Obviously, we'll see how that turns out, but something to watch later. Bengals at Chargers. Of course, Zach Moss and Eric All are out. That's the starting tight end, or one of the starting tight ends for the Bengals, and including Zach Moss. I think you continue with Chase Brown. Honestly, I don't think I'm trusting Mike Gesicki this week, even though Eric All is on IR. I don't think with T. Higgins back, you can trust him in that Chargers game, but still worth watching. Khalil Mack is questionable. He's been banged up, did not practice all week. He's expected to play, but could be a little ding to that Chargers D. But Christian Fulton, the starting outside quarterback, is back. That is good news for the Chargers defense, but bad news for T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Not necessarily concerned. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair person. Texans at Cowboys on Monday Night Football. The Texans are going to be down 2 of their 4 biggest their interior defensive linemen, Will Anderson, and I can't even say his name, not going to bother, but he's a key defensive tackle for them. So that should definitely help Rico Dowdle in that run game matchup this week against the Texans, knowing that's an option. On the other side of the football, of course, we all know about Dak, but the Dallas Cowboys are going to be down 2 of their 3 starting cornerbacks this week. I know Trayvon Diggs, they might expect him to shadow Nico Collins. I do not care. That's going to be huge news. I think Tank Dell, though, is an underrated play this week because of these injuries. They're playing at home. That's where they always play better. So I do think Tank Dell is a really good start this week, knowing the injuries to the Cowboys and the return of Nico Collins should really draw the attention of Diggs in that matchup. All right, let's bring the guys back in. Obviously, Derek decides to go to the bathroom right when he, so I'm about to bring him back in. Classic. But yeah, so guys, there's a couple of key injuries. I don't even know if there's any weather implications. I was going to ask Derek that question before we started up. Doesn't sound like it. Everything's all good up there in Green Bay right now, or were they playing in Chicago this week?
Doesn't matter.
Cool. All right. Love it.
They're in Chicago.
There's no condition. There's no condition that can save the Bears in Matt's mind.
No. It's Bears week coming off a bye. The NFL schedulers might as well be the same referees that do the Chiefs games, the way that this has worked out.
I think this is where we left off.
It's Bears season.
It is. Yeah, Bob, were you on the last time I was on? We figured out who Tyler Sperry was.
No.
You remember a couple last season when we had the guy come on around Thanksgiving and he knew that he was going to have to. He was trying to make this trade, but then there was going to be family turmoil at the Thanksgiving dinner if he pulled off the trade. That's Tyler Sperry. We asked him to come back after Thanksgiving and to talk about it. Here he is a year later around Thanksgiving. So welcome back, Tyler Sperry. Dave, over to you. Downs.
We love repeat business and we love Thanksgiving turmoil. So welcome back, Tyler. Yep. For me, I said Downs a little bit earlier, but I gotta admit I like Dell a little bit more against the Cowboys than I do Downs against the Jets.
Yeah, same for me. It's going to be Dell.
Dell as well.
Dell for me. That's our first 4, I believe. Quad
No
box.
way.
No,
Yeah, it wasn't.
no.
No, we all agreed that the Bears are toast. So
Yeah, Derek. Just remember, I'm the accountant, not you. I don't even have to write things down, and I have the numbers
Well,
correct.
apparently you need to, because we were all on Brian Thomas Jr. earlier with epic fail.
Yes. Okay. And for Tyler Sperry, as Thanksgiving's right around the corner, 3 topics to always discuss at the Thanksgiving table. Number 1, religion. Number 2, politics. And number 3, fantasy football. Not
Nice.
necessarily in that order. Right? Any other subjects you guys want to bring up about what you should talk about at Thanksgiving?
Well,
by the way, this
in
Thanksgiving,
this day and age, religion and
politics,
politics are conflated.
ooh, boy, I'll tell you what, politics, I would love to be a fly on the wall on every Thanksgiving room this year when politics gets brought up. Ooh, boy. Cheesecake, thank you. Always a tough call. Hey, we're here for you. Let us know if you've got other questions. Come on back. Lindorphins, good to see you back. Rumor on the street, Bob doesn't like us talking baseball, but I'm going to do this in spite of Bob and act like Sky is here. Rumor is that your Mets have made an initial offer to Juan Soto in the range of $660 million. My guess is that would be over maybe somewhere in the 5 to 10 year range, but $660 million appears to be on the table from the Mets. Happy Sunday. How do you rank these guys as a bench handcuff stash? Ray Davis, Blake Corum, Jordan Mason, half PPR. Dave, over to you. So we're not starting anybody. We're just going to throw them on the bench.
For the rest of this season, unless you really believe that McCaffrey is a health risk, it's the order that you have him in right now. I definitely like Ray Davis a little bit over Blake Corum and Jordan Mason. But if you are really scared of an injury, the most valuable guy of the 3 may be Mason. And then followed by, it would be reverse if you're scared of injury.
Yeah, so I'm looking at at strength of schedule for the playoff weeks, and really to me it lines up best for the Rams. So taking that into account, and Corum actually is getting work too. And the Rams are in the hunt. They have something to play for. I'm a little worried that although maybe it helps them though. Think about it. If the Bills run away with the division, do they start moving away from Cook and moving it to Davis? I see there's a possibility there. So I think I'm leaning Corum here. I haven't really put a lot of thought to this, to be honest, but I'm leaning Corum and then Ray Davis second.
Assuming I have Kyron, James Cook, and CMC on my roster, and I have to handcuff them, but I can't fill up my entire bench with handcuffs, I would definitely prioritize probably Blake Corum. I just think, obviously, by the way, Cook's missed a little time. Obviously, CMC missed most of the season, but I feel like CMC, I think he got his injury out of the way. So I'm going to go Blake Corum just because I think he does have the best schedule rest of the way.
You're all wrong. The most valuable backup running back in fantasy football is Jordan Mason. He's proved he can carry the load, and in that offense, CMC is the most valuable player. Therefore, that translates to Mason being the most valuable handcuff, especially if you go back and say, well, I drafted CMC 1.01, but we're not even going to rely on that anymore. So from there, it's Ray Davis because Cook has shown that he can be injured. I think he had, turf toe or something else recently, maybe when I was on the ship. I would put Corum third. Jordan Mason by far is the most valuable handcuff in the league right now. And I would put at a fourth on this is maybe a guy named Kenneth Gainwell. Okay. All right. Also, who are your top by the way, Derek, did you want to recap that?
No, not really. That was just ugly.
Yep. Who are your top 3 of these wide receivers rest of season? Pittman, Leggett, Judy, Worthy, Watson, Johnston, half PPR. Dave?
Can I just before we even can we just before we even answer this? By the way, Lindorphins, we have a rest of season slot verse wide strength of schedule tool on Razzball. Like I'm telling you right now, like this is where we have made bread our butter. Butter's been bread. Whatever it is. Bread or our bread. Like, listen, go check out the tool on Razzball, man. Like it is fantastic. Like we did all the research on the slot verse wide tool. So that
Bob,
would be my answer. But go ahead, Dave.
You want to throw the link in there at the bottom, Bob, for everybody?
I don't. I actually want to make it harder for people. So if you guys could just figure it out, that'd be great. You know.
That's always good for site clicks. Good for you.
Okay, for me,
thank you.
For me, I'm taking Xavier Worthy and Christian Watson out of the conversation. Just not enough consistency there. So I'm gonna, as much as Pittman's looked kind of shaky with his back injury, I think he's getting healthier now. He actually practiced all week. I think the week off did him good. So Pittman's one of my guys out of this group. Then it just comes down to Johnston, Leggett, and Judy. And I'm probably going to go with Johnston and Judy just because Johnston just seems to be a touchdown magnet. They seem to love him in the red zone. And I will take Judy, assuming that Jameis Winston starts the rest of the way. He's been doing pretty well since Jameis took over. The wide receivers there are getting a ton of targets right now. I like Leggett a lot, but I just don't like the Panthers very much. So it's going to be Pittman, Judy, and Johnston for me.
Yeah, so if you look ironically, you look at the strength of schedule for the playoff weeks in fantasy, and the Carolina Panthers have one of the most friendliest for their wide receivers. So, that being said, I mean, they've already essentially eliminated from the playoffs. They're going to, they're working on what do they have next year, and part of that is determining, do they have a top wide receiver in Xavier Leggett? So between that and the favorable strength of schedule, I'm going to include Leggett in my 3. And then also as well, I do think Judy has value with Jameson under center. So I'm going to go Judy as well. I'm pivoting off of Pittman. If you followed me all year, I was very high on him coming into the year. That has since cooled off dramatically. So the fact that Richardson is just not targeting Pittman, it's kind of reminiscent of like last year when Baker Mayfield wasn't targeting Godwin for some reason. Even though you had a talented wide receiver there, and he just wasn't getting the targets. This is what it reminds me of. So even though he might be probably their best offensive, certainly wide receiver, he's just not getting the work, and I can't put my trust in him anymore. So it's going to come down to Johnston. I think the Chargers are for real, and I think Quentin Johnson is just going to continue to grow. So I want that as well. So it's going to be Leggett, Judy, and Johnston for me.
Bob?
I'm going to go Leggett, Watson, Johnston.
All right, so we're going to be all over the place again. I agree with what Derek said about Pittman. I will say that the Godwin issue with your Baker Mayfield comment, Godwin was not playing in Godwin's normal position. He was too outside too much for whatever reason. He was back in the slot before his injury, so that was bad for Godwin and didn't help Baker target him the right way. Pittman, again, until we see it from Anthony Richardson, I'm kind of out on Pittman. I have leagues that I have him and I have to play him, and you hope for the best. But I believe I am with Derek here, Leggett, Judy, and Johnston. I would like it to be Christian Watson, but it is not Christian Watson for me. So give me the same 3 that Derek gave. So I guess if there's any consensus, it would be it would be probably Judy as a consensus, Johnston as a consensus, and then it's really Leggett has at least 2 votes. Is that about it, Derek?
Yep, that sums it up.
All righty. Lindorphins, thanks and good luck this weekend. Same to you, absolutely. William Jones.
Who?
William Jones, attaboy, both of you. I love it. Even without Sky here, that worked. CJ Stroud or Bo Nix. I believe that is the Bronco is the second one. Is that a Texas Longhorn? Maybe the first one. Do they have the horns on their helmet?
So are we judging the emojis?
Yeah,
no, we don't do that. We don't.
No,
judge
it's a cow.
emojis.
Isn't that a cow? That's a cow.
The
right?
Cowpokes. CJ versus the Cowpokes.
Oh.
No, it's
Okay. All right.
Oh, Cowboys. Cow. Yeah, I got you.
And then that's a Bronco. All right. So CJ Stroud, we figured it out. No, Dave, we don't judge emojis here. What we do is we try to figure them out. We will usually give thumbs up. Most times we won't give a thumbs down. We'll talk about the person offline. But yeah, we love the ability for our folks to come through with good emojis. Last year was off the chart how good they were.
This is actually, I like both of these guys this week. CJ Stroud is going to have pretty much, except for Diggs, he'll have a pretty full contingent of receivers. But they can attack the Cowboys a lot of different ways. It just comes up, do I like Nix's rushing upside enough to eclipse CJ Stroud? I'm going to take Stroud here just by a hair. I love both of the guys. I would start both of them in a two quarterback league. But CJ Stroud for me just by a hair.
Yeah, it's going to be Bo Nix for me by a hair as well, and it is because of the rushing upside there. It would be stronger if we found out that the passing touchdown was 4 versus the rushing 6, if we had that kind of detail. But assuming that they're the same, I'm still going to go with Nix just a slightly ahead. Suggested a little bit higher scoring game, and I like his the ability that he's going to, or the points that he's going to provide with his legs, rather than just solely depending on his arm. So I like Bo Nix.
Sorry, I apologize. Houston's on the road against Dallas this week, so I apologize for that. Man, I'm gonna go CJ Stroud with Nico back.
I believe that one name that wasn't on your injury report, Bob, I think Deron Bland is also out for the Cowboys.
He hasn't
played all year
from IR yet. Yeah. I mean, he's on the roster, but they haven't actually used him.
So I think it's Joe Mixon for Houston, but they're going to have to get Nico Collins lathered up and playing again. I do love the rushing upside from Nix, but I think I'm going to go with Stroud because if for no other reason, if Houston gets out in front, they're not going to stop. This is going to be like the Lions. If they can drop 50 on Dallas in Dallas, Houston's going to do it. They're going to run this thing up because there is no other team outside the Bears that deserves to get a 50-burger dropped on them than the Dallas Cowboys. We all know that. We can all agree. So we'll move on. I don't need everybody to co-sign. Need a wide receiver and a flex. PPR, McConkey, Pearsall, Tillman, Downs, Ramondre Stevenson. That's a Charger. Broken heart.
Pierce in the heart, Pearsall.
Yeah, he was shot, but I don't know how that would. Stevenson's a running back.
He got shot in the heart. That's funny. That's true. He got shot like in the chest. That's fucked. That's messed up. That's messed up. I like it.
Stevenson is a running back, so that's the guy running. Then you have the bicep, strong arm, weight lift, buff. So
I don't know. Maybe it's a flex. The flex question.
Okay. Yep. There we go. Flex. Yep.
All right.
Dave, over to you.
So, as wide receiver out of this group, I kind of rank them Tillman, McConkey, Pearsall, and Downs. So I'm going to take Tillman as my wide receiver, and I'm going to use Stevenson as my flex against the Rams.
Man.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat there. Tillman in my wide receiver spot versus the Saints, and then Stevenson in the flex.
I might just be wrong about Tillman this week. But I'm going to go McConkey and Stevenson myself.
I'm going to go Tillman and Stevenson with McConkey very close to Stevenson. JCW, did mine get passed over? No, we saw 2 questions, answered both of them. Send us a message if you didn't hear one of them. We'll give you the recap. Derek's probably got it written down. Dominic Vo, full PPR, DJ Moore versus Pat. This is Judy. Does anybody want to argue it? Anybody want to go DJ Moore over Judy?
Yeah, wow. This was unthinkable at the beginning of the season. I was getting hassled about drafting Judy in the Scott Fish Bowl. It's going to be Judy for me this week. I have a lot of shares of DJ Moore. I would love to see him come back to life, but I have to see it first. And I don't think the Packers are a good get-right team for the Bears. I'll take Judy against the Saints.
I'm good with Judy.
Yep. I have, again, back to my Razzball comments at the start. Do you think I roster DJ Moore in Razzball? Yes, I do. Well, welcome to a thrown away season. Drew Brees, no, thank you for coming in. Tell all of your retired quarterback friends to come on in and drop their questions.
Yeah, I'd love to see Dan Fouts visit.
I would not mind a Dan Fouts or a Jim Zorn.
Yeah.
To come pop in and ask their questions. Okay, well, this has been probably a long time coming for Savage. Wow. On the cruise, the first day of the cruise, the Lions punched Green Bay in the face and beat them. You earned it. It's your win. I actually got a text a couple days later from Derek when I was in port and could get Wi-Fi that Savage had mentioned this win on the Sunday Start show. So Savage, you earned it. You're leading the division. I appreciate your team. You're a great team. I like the fact that you're probably not rubbing it in too much. The Lions are exciting to watch. I have many, many shares. So with that, it is Bears week for Green Bay, so we will move on. Got to go deep here between injuries and being in BFE on waiver priority. That, Bob, do you know what BFE is? It's usually a military term.
It's something about Egypt.
Yes, it is bumfuck Egypt, which means he's in the middle of nowhere, which means he's probably at the bottom of the waiver priority. I need a running back option, Cordarrelle or Dameon Pierce. My goodness, Dave, over to you. Enjoy being the first one to address this.
On a neutral plane, I would pick Patterson over Pierce, but Patterson's playing against the Ravens this week. I don't think the Steelers are going to be able to run the ball 41 times again like they did last week, where Patterson got a few touches. I will take a shot on Pierce. I sorry that you have to be in this situation. We like you, Savage. We don't like this situation. I'm going to go with Pierce.
Yeah. So how many times over the years have we seen out of just absolutely nowhere that Cordarrelle comes through with a couple touchdowns in a game? This could be one of those weeks. Wow, this is awful. Pierce is back. He's healthy, but he's also behind, one of the top running backs in the league, frankly. Unless you think maybe that the Texans blow out the Cowboys and give Mixon half a game off.
That could happen.
Yeah.
It's more likely that than the Steelers blow out the Ravens.
True. That's true. So yeah, this one's tough. My initial gut was to try to turn back the clock with Patterson, but I think just the logic tells me Pierce is probably the better play here.
Yeah, it looks like Jaylen Warren's going to play, so that doesn't help. Yeah. I was going to say, if Warren was out, that'd be an easy. I'd go Patterson there. Honestly, not Demarcus Robinson. I wonder if the Jags backup is available in this league. Dearness Johnson. Because with no take Bigsby, that might be a name that's out there if you're going super deep, and he's probably going to get more work than these two guys. So Just a thought there. But
he gets work in the passing game, Dearness Johnson. I plugged him into a dynasty lineup.
Yeah. So it's official Savage. If you could get your hands on him, I think that would be the play. But I'm actually going to go with the narrative that the Texans should dominate them, and Dameon Pierce gets like 8 carries at the end of the game. So I think that's – but by the way, Cordell Patterson is the most underappreciated running back in football. Like he just always looks good, but no one wants to play him. Like other than Arthur Smith, he's like, come on, just be our RB3 everywhere. And like he gets like 5 yards per carry every time, and no one wants to play him. It makes no sense. But I'm going to go Pierce here.
So is there any way that Ogogbowale has more carries than Pierce in a blowout?
Yeah, maybe. I think Dare's the passing game guy, though. Like he's the preferred guy. So I would say Pierce would be the clock killer of the 3.
Yeah. So these two, I don't think this is not a choice. I would go for a Dearness Johnson in a game script where maybe he's catching passes, and I would even lean towards our old friend Cam Akers if he's available, with Aaron Jones having the chest issue. So I would play either one of those before I played Patterson or Pierce. But if I've got to pick one of these, and that's your question, I'm probably leaning garbage time Pierce as the clock killer as well.
Just to go down here, though, official Savage, I'm not playing an RB against the Lions. Like, you got to understand something. The Lions defense, and Derek, I know if you want to pull up the fantasy points scored chart, but how are they against pass-catching running backs? Like, are they allowing a decent amount of targets to running backs because of they're so tough against the run? Or is that just 100% not true either?
Yeah, this is not your running back against the Lions. This is a pass-catching player against the Lions that will be check down Charlie. So
I'm going to just pull all teams.
Yeah.
All right, Bob, while you're looking at that, we have a super chat came in from our friend Tyler Sperry. Dell or Judy? Dave, over to you.
I'll go Dell here. I like Judy a bunch this week, but I'm still going Dell against the Lions.
Yeah, it's going to be Dell for me as well.
Tyler, I mean, I got to tell you, this is like one of the greatest full circle moments of all time. Tyler, when he first came on, he was, I mean, we weren't answering questions quickly, and he got mad. We were like, hey, we got you. Don't worry. And now look at him. He's a super. This is why you stick with us, folks. Yep. Trust us. You'll fall in love. It's a painful process, but God damn, you're gonna fall in love with this team. We love it. We appreciate you. By the way, thank you for being a super chatter. We're going to be donating a portion of all proceeds to Good Sports at the end of the season, so we really do appreciate the donation. We're going to give back to the community as well to help kids play sports. I'm going to go Tank Dell.
That's all 4 of us for Tank Dell and Bob. As you mentioned when we had our team meeting before, it's very possible that every donation that comes in that the team is going to turn all of it over to Good Sports this year. So
probably, yeah.
Don't worry about our health and dental plans. I think we're good, and I think Good Sports will probably get all of the donations. All right, Derek, let's squeeze a couple more in here since you are about to get out of here. Where are we? I'm scrolling too fast. Right there. Tua, Geno, or AR-15, who's better known as Timu, Justin Fields. Dave, which quarterback do you want? I assume that's in just for this week.
Yeah, I'm going Geno this week against the 49ers.
Yeah, it's going to be Geno for me as well. But in Geno, Tua, then Richardson in that order.
There you go, Tua.
Geno, Tua, and I'm not considering the other guy at this point. Yeah. So that's 3 for Geno. Is that right, Derek?
That's right, 3.
All right, Tyler, we just hit this on the side. Lightning bolts. How are we doing, guys? We're good, except Bob and I don't like each other. That's okay. We'll get over it. We do every week. 2 questions from 2 different leagues, but here's the first one. Start 1, half-point PPR in a flex. Rico, Pollard, Brian Thomas Jr., ETN. I think we had a very similar question at the beginning of the show. All right, Dave, quickly, what do we want? Rico, Pollard, Brian Thomas Jr., or ETN in a half-point PPR?
Yeah, I don't want to be accused of being a flip-flopper. I will be on the island with Rico Dowdle out of these 4.
Well, for me, with Tank Bigsby out, it's going to lean more to ETN workload wise. So I will go ETN and Pollard shortly behind.
Tennessee, Dallas, and Jacksonville. Wow. I'm going to go Travis Etienne.
Yeah, I'm going to go ETN as well. I don't love it, but I think that the volume's going to be there, and I think that he's going to catch passes. Pollard would be a close second as well, like Derek mentioned. Right here, gentlemen and ladies that are tuning in, this is our rest of season strength of schedule. So that's the link. You can find it on our Razzball site under, what is it under? It's under football, fantasy football data. So go in there. It's free. The information's free. Let us know what you think. Bob, kicker report, and then we can send Derek off to complete his Sunday.
Yeah, if Jake Moody's available, I really like Jake Moody this week. He's probably the top guy you can get. If you're looking for more of a streamer, Brandon McManus, the Packers kicker, going up against the Chicago Bears is my top one this week. I also like Chris Boswell and Bates from the Lions as well.
Yep, I love Boswell in that game. That's a lot of field goal games coming for against Baltimore. All right, Derek, you got to sign off, or anything you want to say to the group?
No, good luck. Thanks for everyone for joining us today. A lot of good questions, a lot of good discussion, and good to see Matt back here in the quad box.
All right, we'll see you guys later. On text messages later today, Derek. You know what happens.
Bye, Derek.
Good luck, Derek.
All right, Lightning Bets. Second question. Start 2 full PPR, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. Ridley, Jacoby Myers, ETN, DJ Moore. Dave, over to you.
For the wide receiver, I'm going to go with Ridley, and for the flex, I will go with ETN this time over Jacoby Myers. I'm if I can sit DJ Moore, I'm sitting him.
If Ridley's in, I'm actually considering Jacoby Myers ahead of ETN. Detroit is tough against running backs. I'm going to go Ridley and Myers.
I'm with you, Dave. I'm going to go Ridley and ETN. I don't think Myers is a bad decision based on game script, but I'm going to go ETN. Third question, Lightning Bet says final. I don't know if that's true. We'll see as we scroll down. Got to start 2 full PPR. Brian Thomas Jr., who has been everywhere. Rico Dowdle has been everywhere on our call or on our pod today. Start 2. The others are Keyshawn Butte, TJ Hawkinson, and Pittman. I'll speak for the panel. Hawkinson is a undoubtable start for all of us. He showed he's back, so I'm going to go Hawkinson for sure. Dave, do you agree with Hawkinson, and who would be your second player?
Yeah, Hawkins. Yeah, I completely agree with what you just said. Hawkinson's a lock out of these 5 guys for me. I could be a flip flopper like John Kerry, but I'm going to stick with Dowdle for the second guy.
First question, Bob. Do you agree Hawkinson is a must play out of these 5?
Yeah, I'm going Hawkinson and Dowdle as well.
Okay, and I think I'm going to lean Hawkinson and Dowdle. My preference is Hawkinson and Brian Thomas Jr. But I always go back to if we get a whole bunch of questions with the same name on it, that tells me the same name is probably in a position that he is not wanting to be in as far as offensive stats go. And Brian Thomas has been there for almost 2 hours worth of questions for us. So people are nervous about him. They're thinking he's not going to be great. Dowdle is probably guaranteed more volume than Brian Thomas Jr. So floor pick Dowdle, ceiling pick Brian Thomas, and all of us agree that Hawkinson is a must play. Lightning, we're here for you, buddy. Thank you. Hopefully you'll check in next Sunday as well, and the other shows that we have. James Wallace, Kraft or Estime, flex. I guess his second flex position, full PPR. Who do you like, Kraft or Estime?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Estime for the flex. I don't hate Kraft, but I'm going running back over tight end like 11 times out of 10.
Matt, what's your thoughts about the Packers game today?
I think the Packers game is going to be mostly Josh Jacobs. It's going to be somewhat inside with Kraft and Jaden Daniels, and it's going to be a nightmare for Caleb Williams. But I think of the Chicago offense, it's going to be DeAndre Swift to probably get the most activity. I like Kraft. In order, I like Jordan Love after Josh Jacobs. So I would go Jacobs, Love, Kraft, Jaden Reed, and Dubs. I would start all 5. Mainly because people are talking about Love and his interceptions, and he hasn't looked great. Okay, it's a different. If you don't understand Bears Packers, you should probably go look at the history. This is a different game. It matters more. It's what killed Jay Cutler's career. He probably was a Pro Bowl quarterback for many years, and it's a different game. It's not the same. It's very similar for those that understand Pittsburgh and Baltimore. Right? If you're 2-7 in Pittsburgh and you're playing at Baltimore, you're giving everything you have to win that. It's just a different game. And I am higher on Love than most pundits, so I'm okay with the Packers offense, but it's going to be led by Josh Jacobs today. That's where you can attack the Bears is in the running game.
Yeah, I'm still going estimate, but Kraft to me was close. Like I kind of was interested to see the thoughts because Dobbs is another guy I have a lot of. I'm not starting him in a lot of leagues, but I feel like I kind of want to now because
I'm starting him. Pros versus with Joe's for sure.
Yeah.
He's my last roster position. Again, this is to me. I can be a homer. I try not to be on the show, and when I talk bad about the Bears, it's obvious. But I try to stay in the middle. Politics as well. I will tell you, I like Kraft this week. If you want the volume play, it's probably Estime, but I trust what I've seen so far from Kraft when he's in the game with Jordan Love. So I'm going to go Kraft, and I think Estime will be fine.
Sorry to cut the line, but CeeDee Lamb or Romeo Dobbs?
It's got to be CeeDee Lamb. I just think I don't know that I have the guts to sit CeeDee Lamb. Unless I read that the injury is soft tissue, right? That he needs some time to, but I don't know. I don't really know that the injury is that bad. It could be the same injury that Devontae Adams had when he played for the Raiders, right? It could be him sending a message that you need to fix some shit, or I'm not going to come back and risk my career by playing for a team that's just mailed it in. And Dallas, by the way, they do not look good. They look like they're just a mess everywhere. And when Jerry comes out and he's on TV, to me that spells bad. He's either celebrating a win, which we haven't seen him do in a while, or he's coming out and he's trying to take over the face of the organization and take the pressure off the players. And it's never good news when Jerry's in the news.
All right, let's do a speed round. Let's get through these. We have 8 minutes.
All right. Savage. Okay, we already did that. He's not playing. Got you. William Jones again. Rank these tight end. Taysom Hill. Pat. I guess that's Freiermuth.
We skipped one, by the way.
I would think Brock Wright, AJ Barner, Davis Allen
for the Rams.
I think Pat Freiermuth. Yeah, I like Pat Freiermuth this week.
I'll take Freiermuth, followed by Taysom Hill. The rest I'm not interested in.
Agreed.
Which one we missed?
I'm going to take Taysom Hill over Pat. But of the other guys, it's Hill, Pat, or Davis Allen. With T. Higgins back, I'm not that interested in Gesicki.
Yep. James Wall, sorry I skipped over your question. Hawkinson or Kraft? I'm a homer, but I'm going Hawkinson over Kraft today.
Yeah, I love Kraft, but it's Hawkinson for me.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Good.
Oh, sorry. Oh, there we go.
Ice Cold OG Jones, a scary name, exciting name, fancy name. Chase Brown, Shakir, or Jennings in the flex. I believe Chase Brown had 100% snap share in Week 10. So, Dave, over.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about the Chargers matchup, but I'm not that worried about the Chargers matchup where I'm going to start Shakir or Jennings over Chase Brown. I'm going with Chase Brown.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to sit Chase Brown. That should be a really high scoring game.
Yep, I'm the same way. I'm starting Chase Brown. I would not argue with you if you told me you were starting Jawan Jennings in a vacuum. And I wouldn't have an issue if you told me you were starting Shakir. But when the three names are put together for us, it's Chase Brown. Steelers defense versus Ravens or Rams versus Pats. Dave, over to you. I have my opinion on this.
Steelers defense against a lot of teams. Ravens aren't one of them. I'll take the Rams versus the Patriots here.
Yeah, same. I don't
Bob,
love either. I'm gonna be honest with you.
What's on your defensive rankings? You got 5 name or some waiver names to throw out?
No, I mean the one team you guys disagree with me on this, but the one defense I've picked up is the Saints against the Browns. I think that Jameis is going to throw some interceptions this week, and that's a pretty widely available team. I think the ones that really got scooped up, though, the Dolphins, the Packers, the Vikings are all gone. The Houston Texans against the Cowboys are probably gone too, so you're probably deeper. The Rams should be okay, but I think Drake May is kind of – I think a lot of the metrics show that the Patriots are a really good matchup, but the problem is Drake May has changed things a lot over the last few weeks. So I'm not in love with the Rams traveling to the East Coast for this game. I would say the Saints are probably the deepest dart throw defense that I like this week.
Any interest in Cleveland at New Orleans or Tennessee versus the Vikings?
No. Not with the injuries to the Tennessee defense. I think that Justin Jefferson's going to, kind of dominate that matchup, to be honest with you.
So how about the flip side to this? Would you start Baltimore's D against the Steelers?
No. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. They give up too many yards.
Yep. Falcons at the Broncos?
That's pretty deep.
Yeah.
As far as it goes, I agree with Bobby on the Saints over any of the other teams that we just threw out there.
All right.
The issue with the Falcons is they have so many injuries. I wouldn't risk it. It's just too many injuries on defense.
The Alford's out this week. They've got a ton of injuries on.
I'm good with starting the Steelers because you're probably not going to drop them for another defense. So you just take what you take your medicine. But I would probably lean Rams just ever so slightly. But
it's a philosophy question. Then if you're the number 1 or 2 seed and you're fine, you're going to make the playoffs and you just want to ride the Steelers. But like the Steelers have Cleveland, Philadelphia, Baltimore in the playoffs. So Cleveland, yes. Baltimore and Philly, maybe not. On the road as well. I don't even think I care about the Steelers defense anymore.
Yep. All right, let's roll through these one-word answers. Kraft or Andrews?
It's close, but I'm going to lean Andrews.
Andrews.
Andrews for me as well. Flowers or Adams?
For me, it's Flowers. Adams popped up on the injury report again this week, and maybe it's time to give him more money.
I'm gonna go Flowers. Stay with the high hand.
Flowers as well. Half-point PPR. Need a home run. Tyreek Hill and Njoku deep waiver play. That's probably Taysom Hill then.
It's got to be Taysom, man.
Taysom Hill or Njoku. If I had a shot at Njoku, it would be Njoku all day. I like Taysom Hill. I had to pick him up in a league where Trey McBride is out and nobody else is on waivers. But I'm not running to play Taysom Hill over Njoku.
All right, got 1 minute, Bob. Njoku for me as well. Love or Tua and Disley or Knox? For me, it's Knox and Love.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going Disley and Love.
JSN or Quentin Johnston? JSN for me.
I'll go Johnston and hope the red zone works.
Johnston for me.
All right, last one, boys. Give me ceiling, half point, PPR, 2 flex. Brian Thomas Jr., Dobbs, Pearsall, Addison, Mostert, Wright, Akers. Go. We got to sign off, Bob.
I'm going to take Thomas and Pearsall.
I'm going to go Dobbs and Pearsall for me.
Brian Thomas Jr. and Dobbs for me. Bob, wrap it up. Let's get out of here.
Why do I have to wrap it up? Come on now, folks. All right, that's all we got today, folks. Thanks for joining us. Honestly, enjoy Week 11. You don't need an outro, people. You guys know what the deal is. Join us again on Sunday. Make sure you join us all the week. Subscribe. Head over to razzball.com. We do appreciate you. Make sure you check out all those great tools. Thanks for joining us. So once again, thank you, Matthew Stiles. Great job hosting today. Derek and Dave, appreciate you both being on the show. We are out of here.